So we're going to go over rational exponents. Rational means ratio, so it's just a fraction essentially. An exponent that's a fraction. Okay. And to explain this concept, the first thing I want to talk about is just a really basic example. But what happens if I had something like 2 to the 1/2 power? What is this equal to in terms of radicals? Does anybody know? If you don't, that's totally fine. What is this equal to? Is there another way of rewriting this? All right. If you don't know what it is, that's fine. Then we're going to go over right now. All right. So 2 to the 1/2 power. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set this equal to x. I'm going to say x is equal to 2 to the 1/2 power. And what I'm going to do with this 2 to the 1/2 power is I'm going to square it. Okay. So I'm going to do x squared. This is going to be equal to 2 to the 1/2 times 2 to the 1/2. Now, based on our exponent properties, remember everything in this class builds. So this is going to build from the last lesson. What can I do with these two exponents? Just yell it out. Add them. So then you're going to get 2 to the what power? 1. 2 to the 1 power is the same thing as writing 2. Okay. So essentially what this is saying is x, because remember x is equal to 2 to the 1/2 power. It says x times x is equal to 2. Which another way of writing this is x squared is equal to 2. So if I wanted to solve for x, what could I do to both sides of this equation? Square root it. So you can square root both sides here, and you're going to get, cancel, cancel. You're going to get x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 2. But I told you before that x is equal to 2 to the 1/2 power. So we're not really going to worry about this plus or minus thing because we're just going to say it's plus. But the moral of the story is the square root of 2 is equal to 2 to the 1/2 power. Exactly. So anytime you take something to the 1/2 power, it's the square root. You have to know how to do this. It's the whole point of this section right here. Okay. Are there any questions on this? Has anyone seen this before? Radicals to rational exponents? Just one person? Okay. Again, I'm going to assume you've never seen it. So the main thing is if you have a square root, it's the same thing as doing something to the 1/2 power. Okay. There are going to be some instances where a problem is going to say something like this. It's going to say, transform this into a rational exponent. So you would have to say, oh, it's square root, so it's 3 to the 1/2 power. And that's the answer. Like this is like stuff that's going to be on your quiz. So make sure you write it down because you're going to be using your notes. You can use this and not mess it up on a quiz or a test. Okay. I use 2 because it's an easy number. I could have used 3, 4, 5. It doesn't really matter what you use. Okay, I just use 2 because it's easy. Okay. So if 2 to the 1/2 is the square root of 2, that's the moral of the story here. What is, let's see, let's do, what is 2 to the 1/3 power equal to? How'd you know that? Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, he said this is equal to the cube root. So the cube root is when there's like a 3 here, and then you put a 2 in like this. Okay. Now, I was going to like show you, well, I'll still show you where all this comes from. But the main idea here is 2 to the 1/3. If you do 2 to the 1/3 and you cube it, you're technically multiplying those powers. Again, we just went over that yesterday. You multiply these powers. So then you get 2 to the first power because 3 times 1/3 is 1. Okay, so that means that you multiplied this number 3 times. Is equal to 2. Well, this is the same thing as saying the cube root of 2 cubed. So that means this is equal to this, like what Scott said, basically. Okay, the formula for this, you can just use the formula if you want. It's probably the easiest thing to do, is if you had some, square roots or nth root, cube root, fourth root, whatever it is, it's equal to x to the 1 over n. This is one of the main rules that we're going over today. This is me trying to trick you here. So here we go. What about if I did 4 to the 2/3 power? So now it's not 1/3 or 1/2, it's 2/3. Do you know that one, Scott? What is it? Cool. No worries. All right, check this out. This is gonna be a little bit easier here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change that 2/3 to a 1/3, and then I'm gonna square it. Okay. And the reason why you can do this is because 2 times 1/3 is 2/3. So this is equal to this part right here. The two things that I highlighted. Because when you have a power of a power, you multiply, that's 2/3. So everything I just wrote there is completely legit. Okay. Check this out. There's another way of writing this too, because I don't want anyone to get tricked. You can do this as well. You can do 4 squared to the 1/3 power. Okay, because again, everything I highlighted up there, it's all the same. 2/3 is the same as 1/3 times 2, and it's the same as 2 times 1/3, because there's no order in that. Does that make sense? Everyone's with me still? So what we're going to do is we're going to use this 1/3 right here, this 4 to the 1/3, to rewrite it to be the third root or the cube root of 4 quantity squared. Or you could write 4 squared and do the cube root of that. These are all equal. You have to know how to go from one to the other. I'm going to show you the formula for it, the rule, just a second. But that's pretty much the main thing. And we're going to do some examples too, but I think that's the main rule that we're going over today. Yep, cool. Okay, let me write down the main idea and then we'll do some example problems. Okay, if you have x and it's raised to, let's just say, let's just do a over b, I guess. A over b. It's equal to x to the a, and then you do this, the b root of it, the bth root. Or you can say x to the bth root is raised to the a power. It's all the same thing. Everything I wrote here is all equivalent. I did not leave enough room again. All right, here we go. It's the a power. Okay. Make sure this is in your notes. You will need this. Okay. We're just converting from one thing to the next. Any questions on this? All right, let's do some example problems then. We're going to start basic and then we'll get more and more complicated as we go. So number 1, what is the fourth root 16? Does anybody know this? You're looking for what number, if you multiply it by itself 4 times, you get 16. 2. Okay. So if you did 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, you get 16. So if you cube root or fourth root this, you get 2. And then if you fourth root this side, you also get 2. So that means this is actually equal to 2. Okay. Another way of writing this, here, let me get rid of all this. Is you can break down the 16 to all its prime factors. Okay. So we're doing the fourth root. And 16 is 2 times 8. But then you can break down the 8 to 4 and 2. Okay, but then you can break down the 4 to 2 and 2. It'll be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And if you see right there, there are 4 2s. So that means you can make one group of 4 2s. So because of that, that's equal to 2. Another way you could have done it, check this out. You could have done 2 to the 4th, and then you're doing the 4th root to it. So what you can do is the 4th root and the 4 cancel, and you end up with 2 as well. So there are multiple ways of doing this. 16 comes out pretty nice because it's just 2. I'm going to do some other ones where they don't come out as pretty, but you get the idea. What's that? Yep. Good. Let's do, I'm just going to make up some problems here. Let's do the, let's do the 3rd root of 32. Okay, so now we're looking for groups of 3 for this. So first thing I would do is break down the 32. So that's going to be 2 times 16. The 16 breaks down to 4 and 4, which breaks down to 4 2s. So we're going to do 2 times 2 times 8, which is 2 times 4, which is like this. There we go. 4 is 16 times 2 is 32. But you have to look at this and go, okay, how many groups of 2 are there? There's one, or groups of 3, I'm sorry. There's one group of 3 here. So what you can do, that's 2 to the 3rd. Cube root of that is 2. And then you just have this 4 left over here. So it's going to be the 3rd root of 4. This will be the final answer for this one. Okay, but what if I wanted this in as a rational exponent? So you would have to rewrite this to be 2 times 4 to the 1/3 power. Okay, because it's that cube root, which again, you just do 1 over 3. Based on that formula we went over right here. Okay. Let's go with let's see here. So now we're going to try to throw all this stuff together into one concept. And hopefully we can get the right answer. So number 3, I want you to write the following in radical form. That means there should be like a square root in there somewhere. Okay. We'll do this one together. Okay, one way you can do this is probably the easiest way, so I advise doing it this way if you can, is the 3 halves is really equal to 1.5. So what you can do is just do 2 to the 1 and 2 to the 1/2. Because 3 halves is equal to 1 plus 1/2. Okay, this is the easiest way. I'll show you the other ways of doing it too. So if you couldn't break down that fraction to 1 and 1/2, I'll show you other ways as well. This is going to be equal to 2 times 2 to the 1/2 is just the square root of 2. So your final answer would be 2 root 2. All right, well, let's say you did not know how to do that fraction thing. I'm going to show you another way of doing this. And if you don't like fractions, this is definitely the best way to do it for you. Okay, what you can do is we can do 2 to the, oops, let's do a different color. We can do 2 to the 3rd, and it's to the 1/2 power. Okay, now 2 to the 3rd is 8. And if you remember, this is a rule we already went over, because you can multiply these here to get 3 halves. So 2 to the 3rd is 8. 2 to the 3 power is 8. So we're doing 8 to the 1/2 power. 1/2 power means square root. So we're doing the square root of 8. But you have to think, what breaks down to groups of 2 on this? Well, 8 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. 2 times 2 times 2. Blah. And we need this in groups of 2. Well, here's one group of 2 right here. So that comes out of the radical, and then you're just left with that 1, 2 left over, and you'll notice you get the exact same answer either way. Okay. So one way is using the fraction breakdown. The other way is, actually rewriting this each time, then breaking it down in the square root and making it work from there. One thing I just realized is I probably shouldn't have done, this is kind of embarrassing. I didn't really need to do any of this. Because it was 2 to the 3, I could have just wrote 3. But I went in circles there, essentially. I did 2 to the 3 is 8, and then I broke it down to 2 to the 3 again. That's embarrassing. Don't do it that way. Just do it this way. Sorry. There we go. It's 2 to the 3. The half power means the square root. Put it up in groups of 2 because it's the square root. All right. This one's going to be kind of tricky. First person to get this, just kind of yell it out or throw it in the chat. This will be kind of like a little race here. What is 4 to the 5/3 power? You have to simplify it in radical form, which means there should be like a square root symbol in there somewhere. Ah, shoot, that was supposed to be a 2. That's embarrassing. Sorry. That's supposed to be a 2. Here's some paper towel up here. Those tears. Okay. Okay. When someone has the answer, if you want to just yell it out. Go. I thought you were raising your hand. You don't think it's right? 32, very good. Yep, 32. Okay, there's multiple ways of doing this. One way you can do this is if you break it down to 4 to the 1/2 and 5. 4 to the 1/2 is the same thing as the square root of 4 to the 5th. Okay, square root of 4 is 2. So it's 2 to the 5th. Well, 2 times 2 is 4, times another 2 is 8. This goes 2, 4, 8, 16. That's 4. Multiply it by 2 again, you get 32. Okay. Obviously, you can use your calculator on this, but we're just practicing our properties right now. And also, you're not going to get questions when it's just a number. There's going to be like an X in there and other stuff. So, but baby steps. Okay, questions on this? All right, let's do some that had X's in them then. Here we go. So it's going to be number 5. Number 5, I want this to be in the form of kx to the n. So this time I don't want the radical. I want to actually have a power up there. Whether it could be a rational power. So we're going to do the 4th root of 16x to the 3rd. Okay, this is definitely our hardest problem so far. So is anyone going to get mad if we do it together? Cool. All right, so we want to break this down into powers of 4, or groups of 4, I should say. So 16 is going to be 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and then the x to the 3rd is x, x, and x. And we're doing the 4th root of this. Okay. Well, here's one group of 4 right here. So that's just going to come out to be a 2. And then you're going to have the 4th root of x to the 3rd. But we need to make that fourth root of x to the third to just have a power. So we need that rule that we went over right here to be able to solve for that. Let me highlight this. Okay, so the way to look at this is whatever the a is, in this case the a is 3, this is going to be equal to 2 times x. It's going to be 3 because that's the a right there. And then we're going to divide it by whatever's the outside there, which is 4. So it's just going to be 2x to the 3/4 power. Questions on this one? Okay, now I'm going to try to trick you again. Doesn't count, so I'm not really trying to trick you that much. What about 5 over the square root of x? So this time I'm throwing it on the denominator just to kind of trip you up. I want it to be in the form of kx to the n. All right, I'm going to slowly start working this one out. First thing I'm going to do is separate this out. So it's 5 times 1 over the square root of x. Just so you can see the 5 is unrelated to the 1 over x, 1 over the square root of x. Okay. Now I want this to have a rational exponent. Remember, that's a ratio, so a fraction for the exponent. So I need to make that square root of x into a rational exponent. So it's going to be x to the 1/2 on the bottom there. Okay. But it can't be on the bottom. It has to be on the top. So how do I get it to switch sides? Anybody just yell it out? Throw it up there and switch the sign. And there's your final answer.